North Tahmamı'da Serdar Durdyyev çağırıyor. Serdar Durdyyev bilen guest speaker'ımız hoş geldiniz. Malazya'dan. Serdar Durdyyev 2005 yılda Türkiye'nin Yıldız Teknik Üniversitesi'nin kuruş injinerliği muhtarım. 2008 yıldan 2010 yıla Çenova Şovlu şehirde İstanbul Teknik Üniversitesi'nin kuruş injinerler bölümünden master'ını alan 2010 yıldan 2011 yıla Çenova New Zealand'da, TASA Zelandiya'dan Massey Üniversitesi'ne yeni kuruluşu dolandırış barada master'ını alan 2011 yıldan 2013 yıla Çenova University of Technology Malazya'da Kuala Lumpur'da kuruluş uğrundan PhD programmasını bitirdi. Şu an orta disertasyonu yapan Serdar Durdıyev'i sahnamıza çağırıyorum.
Bir küçük anekdotların başlayın. Bugün kuruluş injinerler hakkında bir köpçör aydılarına da bugün cennettekiler ve doğuluktakiler getleşerler bir aramda aratma şeyde yerler. Kâv görüşürlerler, getleşerler. Ondan neyle dedi? Sizde o taydan bir köp problem başlandı, sizden değerden başlandı köp problem. Biz orta arada duruşa erseyler. Bu yerler başlayalar vurmana. Ondan orta gelirler olayım, doğuluktakiler grup gelirler olayım, seyrederler, beylik yarısı yok. Ondan hem olduysa bizde de uğruş injinleri kalmadı, yok diye. Sebebi şu, dünyada her yılı mümkün misallar var. Bu misalım, ödüm şu tayda okanıcı, Türkiye'de 1999'da yer titreme meydanıydı. Şu utaydan jaylar ve neçat epey adamın yok oluyor. Sonra seyrederler, ne için hani doğru yani Doktor Mehmet'in ayet şeyleri it's good to prevent. Vuruluşta da seyrederler, jaylar ne vuruluptur. Ve şu yankı anekdotum şundan son çıkıyor da nir çürük ne bulanmalı bağlatır şunun bulanmıştır da İngilizce devam eder. So I'm doing my PhD in overall the field is construction management. So how to manage construction. Okay, it's two words, but sometimes it's not easy. It depends on the country. It depends on project. It depends on even sometimes from just small area to another area. For example, in Malaysia or in Turkey or in Turkmenistan. So my study is actually I've been motivated for this study since November 2012 when Turkmenistan or the government authorities they just announced a new policy which mentioned that in November 2012, 16th November, the privatization program was officially discussed in the meeting, during a cabinet meeting of Turkmenistan, and the government just tried to promote how to privatize their local enterprises. And from the different case studies around the world, there are some instruments or like an instrument which plays a catalyst role in privatizing all the local or the government enterprises. And so the construction management, or there are several or various types of constructions, like for example infrastructure or the road or highways or just a normal buildings. And so these all projects, they need different managing processes, or they need different delivery methods or implementation process. So, and how to manage, the best managing of this kind of project is to use the resources in a best way. So my focus in this speech is BOT model in the national privatization strategy, or how can we implement this model, which is already implemented in all around the world, and mostly this model is implemented in the developing countries. So as such, Turkmenistan is now under the list of the developing countries. I think it's one of the best way to deliver these projects through the BOT model. So BOT model, we call it as build, operate, and transfer. So it's briefly, I am just promoting a just project, and a government of a project, and then just invite the investors, and they come and they invest and also build that project, and based on the contract, they operate for a 12, 20, 25, sometimes 50 years, and then transfer back to the government. So, just briefly, the historical background of this model is started from the 1980s. This model was first implemented in Turkey, which is promoted by Prime Minister Turgut Özal. So it's in 1980s, when we just go back to the 1980s, like Turkey and Malaysia, and try to select the best of let's say the factors under the SWOT analysis, which can be really implemented, or which are the threats for the Turkmenistan. And the strength of this model is it's really invite or attract the foreign direct investments to that country. And another good strength is to reduce the responsibility of the government during the implementation of that kind of project, because when any government try to deliver that specific project, it's mostly some X billion dollars. So it's not like $2 or $3 million. So these infrastructure projects are really high. So it's hard to support this kind of project with cash money. So that's why direct foreign investors or the private investors really plays important role in delivering these kind of projects. So the strength, another strength, reduces the responsibility and pressure on the host government. Of course, in terms of finance and for the preliminary cost which is generated by the project. And another one is increase the participation and contribution from the parties for the successful project implementation operation. So if, for example, if the country doesn't have any, let's say, experience in such kind of specific infrastructure project, it's really good to invite another from another country, the really experienced companies, so that they can really implement that project in a very, very best. So we call it in a triple way: cost, time, and quality, which will, in a long term, plays very important role of new technology and training of local workforce based on that advanced new technology, and new opportunities for private sector participation, and also the development and use of emerging markets to fund projects. So it's, as I mentioned before, these kind of projects are really huge, in huge amounts. So it's really hard to fund. So that's why it gives the opportunity from the private sector to fund these kind of projects. Another thing is additional capital inflows into a country and reduce capital flights and reduce unemployment in the country and by creating a new job opportunities. And the threats is the threat of the facility being run down at the transfer stage of these schemes. I mean, there are some threats during the transfer scheme. So some laws, let's say, plays an important role. All these laws and agreements have to be established on the very strong fundamental. So, and if the scheme is not planned and structured properly, natural resource of the country, especially in developing country, could be wasted. And the final is political and some cultural threats make investors wary about entering into any long-term investment. So just finally, in a conclusion, we're going to give, as I mentioned before, two good case studies. Is one of them in Turkey. For example, last 6 months, Turkey, so saving means again earning. Saving from some project, it means again you earn some money. So in the last 6 months, Turkey saved for about $45 billion with just 3 projects, which one of them is in a new airport in Istanbul, which is going to be the largest in Europe, and which is going to be cost or not. They agreed actually for the 25 years for the 22.5 billion euros. And another one is the third bridge in Istanbul as well. It's again $4 billion, and it's again under the BOT scheme. And finally, which is in the future, they are now planning the Istanbul Channel project, which is again estimated. They're now estimating fee as a $10 billion. So, as you see, just in a 3 or 4 months, or 5 or 6 months, it's a really good save. And of course, they attract a new foreign direct investment from all around the world. And finally, they promote the country for new technology, for the cash flows into the country, and they don't have to pay cash from the government revenues. So I hope, or I think that this model will really play a crucial role in this kind of privatization strategy in Turkmenistan, as it has played in other developing countries, in Turkey and Malaysia, which are 2 best examples in the world. So, thank you very much for listening.
Well, I have a question. What countries such as Turkey or Malaysia have done to attract investors? What they have done, and is there any, all those methods are applicable to our country?
Yeah, so the main thing is they just said, if I want to give it like exact example is the highways. So in Turkey and Malaysia, they have really good highways. So first they just privatize the highways.
So
government just privatized the highways under the BOT scheme. So what does it mean? They just invite the investors and open, to all investors from all around the world, and like an auction. And who gives the best price? They just have make an agreement for at least mostly 20 or 25 years. And after the construction of that highway, that company is, let's say, supported by the government with strict rules and, of course, the law of the country. So nobody or in any company, they just can freely, or they can come to Turkey or Malaysia, and they feel free themselves to invest, and there is no any threat from that government, for example, in terms of law or some rules, or in terms of some banking systems. It's
Right.
very important as well. And then they just privatize the highways and they construct, and for some period of time, that company just operate that highways, and of course, the quality, the best thing is quality, which is first the priority is the benefit of the public, and that quality just transfer to the directly usage for the public.
I have a question about that. After that is transferred to the government, how do these countries, the examples of these countries, show that the government can actually sustain it in the long term?
Mostly they do not transfer, they just extend their agreements.
Should they,
But-
they never go back to the government?
No, mostly. They can do that, but what they mean by transfer, they just want to implement the win-win strategy. So build and operate, it's for the company, and transfer for the government. It's just to achieve the win-win strategy.
Can I make a comment
Can
on
this
that?
model be used for the building real estate, in the construction of the real estate, like for the government buildings, like in Turkmen?
I haven't seen, I mean, I don't know any example, but mostly this model is used for the jet infrastructure project. Because one of the, the criteria for this model is the project should be there should be a minimum size, in terms of amount, there should be a minimum size for all the project. For the $2 million, it doesn't work. So mostly for 25, the amount should be with $1 billion.
The reason why I am asking, because beautiful buildings are built in Turkmenistan right now, or continuing build. If this model will be used, because it says build, operate, transfer after 10 years, 25 years, but it will cost more because Turkmenistan or Turkey located in the earthquake area.
Yes.
So they will require higher insurance. Those who build it, they will require, price will be much more higher than building these, using this mess in the other country where there is no earthquake. So I think it seems to me like building those kind of structure, it will not work.
But the thing is, for buildings like in a high, just normal usual buildings,
I believe they cost
the thing
also a lot.
operate, the term operate, it doesn't work. So how they can operate. But for infrastructure project, they can, because during that operation period, they earn money.
So investors earn money, right?
Yeah, from tolls, from like now in the US, you the toll roads, you pay,
Right.
so that money goes to the company.
The successful implementation, I can give you an example of what's being in Turkmenistan, is that majority of the textile complexes are being built, operate, transfer models. They are built by the Turkish businessmen.
Yes.
They are looking forward to expanding. Another example would be